Hey guys, how's it going? Like Butter here, and today we're going to be doing a tutorial on recalibration because there are still a lot of people who don't fully understand how recalibration works. So I'm going to do a tutorial and kind of give you guys an idea because it is a little bit different from the Division 1. So we'll go over like kind of what's changed. I'm just going to get some pieces here out of my inventory so that I can use an example to kind of show you guys exactly what to do when recalibrating. Okay, so you unlock the recalibration station through the campaign, and it is located over here near the crafting station. Now, how the recalibration station worked in the Division 1 is you would basically go in, you would pick an item, you'd go to recalibrate it, and then you would basically, so for example, 9 weapon damage here, it would show me the ranges of where that weapon damage can roll. And then I would use materials and it would give me a random roll, and that random roll, if it was higher, then I would take that and then it would up that weapon damage. If it was lower, then I could always roll again or take the weapon damage that I already had. In the Division 2, it works a little bit differently. So what you're going to do is you're going to use 2 items to kind of merge them together. So let's look at a piece here. For example, let's go with this Fenris chest piece. Okay, so it has weapon damage, health, critical hit damage. Now, if you decide to recalibrate, say it has all of the things you want on it, but you want to get a little bit more health here. The thing is, you can't switch this health out for something else. You can only switch in between defensive stats. So you got the red stats, you got the green stats, which are utility, and you have the blue stats, which are the defensive stats. You can only switch between those specific attributes. So you can't switch out health for a red stat here. You can only switch it out for other blue stats. And how it's going to work currently is, for example, if I want to get 18,276 bonus armor, because say this piece I don't really care about, I just want that bonus armor on this piece, I can click this, select, and it's going to tell you what that armor is capped at. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this system. The point of this is because they don't want people getting too strong in World Tier 4, since World Tier 5 isn't out. Now, when World Tier 5 comes out, I think you will be able to recalibrate this the way that's intended. But it seems like they just don't want you to get pieces that are so incredibly strong that it just throws the balance of the game off. So right now, it's going to give you a cap of 13,000. So I'm not going to get the 18,000 from this other piece, which is a bit unfortunate, but that's just how it works right now. That's kind of just how it is. And what you usually want to use this for is you want to get the stats that you want. You remember Division 2 Reigns loot. It's crazy how many things drop. You want to get the stats that you want, and then you want to use this to recalibrate talents, because talents don't lose any of their value when you switch them out. Now, there's 2 different types of talents. There's major talents and there's minor talents. Major talents can be seen here by the circle with a triangle or a chevron in the middle, and then the minor stats can be seen with just a circle here. You can't switch out major stats for minor stats or minor stats for major stats. You can only switch out major stats for other major stats. So say here, I don't want Unstoppable Force, I want another talent. If I double click this, it will show me all my other pieces of talents that I have on other gear. Say I want Berserk here. Well, that's awesome. Okay, I select this. It shows you how much it's going to cost down here, which is dependent on how high the gear score, how high the level is of the item, how much in materials, so electronics, and you have polymer, I think that's called. I'm not entirely sure what that is, but it's going to show you basically the materials that you need. And then you're just going to hold it, and it's going to show you, okay, you're putting this talent into this slot. So say you want to do that, you hold F, it goes to destroy the talent. It shows you in this screen what it's going to, and when it finishes, it will go to this talent. Now, let's say that, you know, World Tier 5 comes out, like it is on April 5th, by the way, if you didn't hear about that on State of the Game. April 5th, World Tier 5 comes out. You can still use this talent on this piece of gear to recalibrate it into a higher level piece if that's what you want. So for example, like going for builds right now, A lot of people are like, oh, it's kind of pointless because they're going to be useless in World Tier 5. That's actually not entirely true, because if you have a bunch of pieces and you have a bunch of the talents that you want, well, the cool thing is that you can just always recalibrate that talent into the gear piece that you want. So really all you're looking for are those high attributes and the attributes that you want with your build. And then you can just bring that talent over up into a higher gear score. So that's going to be really cool. So that's pretty much how the recalibration station works. It's really simple. And once you recalibrate something, you can't recalibrate a different stat. You can recalibrate that slot as many times as you want, but you can't and I'll show you here in a second. Say, you know, I want to put Bloodsucker on this. I'm going to put that there. It's going to say modified. Okay, modified, which means that talent can only be switched out in this slot now. This you are locked to this specific stat. So if I wanted to put another one into it, you could still always just keep putting you know, different talents into this slot, but this is basically locking and saying, okay, I'm committing to recalibrating this slot. That's just what's going to happen. And yeah, that's pretty much how the recalibration station works. Now with weapons, you do have to keep in mind that if you are switching a weapon stat, it needs to be a weapon stat that is available on that weapon, right? So let's find a good example here. I think I have some rifles that have, okay, so boomerang. Like critical hits have 50% chance to return the bullet to the magazine. If a bullet is returned to the magazine, the next shot has 20% increased damage. Now, of course, this would be incredibly overpowered on like an SMG or an assault rifle. So boomerang is a specific rifle talent, which means if I go to roll this talent, it's only gonna show me my other rifles that I can put a talent in that slot for. So, you know, you can't just take this talent and throw it on an SMG. It has to be within that range of whatever, you know, weapon type it is. So you can only put SMG stats into SMG stats. However, if there's a talent that works both on SMGs and on rifles, then those are obviously interchangeable as long as the talent is available on both weapons. And that's pretty much it. The reason your gear score goes up, in case people don't know why like the gear score goes above 450, basically what it's telling you is how strong the rolls are on your weapons. And for example, or on guns, it's dependent on your weapon damage and your weapon damage only. That's why you can't recalibrate to get higher gear score on weapons, because there's no attributes to roll, you know. Talents are always considered the same gear score. But if you go here on mask, say for example, you know, I have 20% damage to elites here. Now, if instead I had 24 damage or whatever, that would up my gear score, because it's so gear score is really just calculating how high the rolls are on your gear, not necessarily which rolls you have and which rolls would be better on your build. That's why you see a lot of people that have builds are usually around the 450 range, because in order for them to get that perfect build, they had to recalibrate a talent and they weren't really able to up one of the attributes to increase the gear score. I have like a 460 rifle, and the reason I have a 460 rifle is just because the base damage is basically pretty much maxed. So it just means I got a super high roll on my base damage. But if I switched out this talent here, it wouldn't change my gear score. So don't really worry too much about gear score. You may have a level 455 gear score item, and you might have a 450 item, and that 450 item could be much, much better than the 455, depending on its talents and depending on the things that you want for your specific build. So I just wanted to do a short little tutorial to kind of give you guys an idea of how the recalibration station works. And remember, if you're switching out talents, you got to make sure that if it's a circle, it can go into a circle talent. If it's a circle with a chevron in the middle, then that can only go, and they're not interchangeable. So think of it as major, minor talents, attributes. Attributes can only switch with other attributes of that specific color. So for example, a green stat or utility can only switch out for another utility stat. A red stat or a offensive stat can only switch out for another offensive stat. And hopefully with this tutorial, you guys understand the recalibration station a little bit more. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If this was helpful, be sure to drop the video a like. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I will talk to you guys next time. Take care, everybody.